Hello, my name is Patrick Jamieson. I'm the product manager for IRIS FHIR Health, and I'm delighted to introduce to you today our newest cloud-based service, the InterSystems IRIS FHIR Accelerator service. In these next few minutes, I'm going to give you a complete tour of the service. What this allows you to do as a developer is do FHIR development in the cloud, building applications like tethered applications to the EMR for patient engagement apps, mobile applications where you might connect patients to bioresearchers, remote access clinical decision support, and the latest Smart on FHIR applications. We offer everything you need for full stack FHIR development support, including a FHIR API development portal, support for OAuth 2 and Smart on FHIR, API metrics, logging, FHIR import, backup, and a whole lot of other features that we'll cover in this next few minutes. The development portal makes it easy for you to understand the FHIR API, especially useful for newcomers. It allows you to test FHIR APIs and also to start to learn the FHIR search syntax. We have complete support for OAuth 2, so you could choose your identity providers, and we support the major identity providers. I have a two-part talk on this if you really want to get into the details. We have complete transparency for FHIR metrics, so you can see the latency, the errors in the request, and others. We have access logging that allows you to understand where your FHIR requests are coming from. We make it very easy to import FHIR bundles. You could use this either using a GUI or SFTP, and we also have pre-made bundles so that you don't have to generate synthetic data yourself. We're committed to the developer. The IRIS FHIR Accelerator service is built by developers for developers, and it has everything you need to do FHIR development at your fingertips. So if you're looking for complete service support for scaling your FHIR server, backups, administering credentials, you've come to the right place. So now I'd like you to create your free new account and start exploring FHIR development. So here I'm on ISC Cloud, and I'm going to log into my deployment, and I'll type in my username and password, simply hit the login button. If I didn't have an account, I could create one right now, and I'll see all my deployments, including the deployments for the health message transformation service. They're all available here. If I want to create a new deployment, I can, and notice I could size my deployment for what I need. In the preview mode, it is free, so that's what we're going to use here. We currently only support the US East region, but that will change soon. And we can name the deployment what we like, just has to be a unique name. So I'm going to just type in FHIR demo here, review these parameters, and hit create. Now this deployment will take about 5 or 6 minutes to launch, and because we're short on time, I'm going to go right to one of my previously created deployments so we can see some of its functionality. So double clicking on that, I could see that there are two endpoints for my deployment, an API key endpoint and an OAuth 2 endpoint. It's important to use the right endpoint because all the FHIR requests we'll make are highly secure. So going into our API keys, to create a new API key so we could use our deployment, I'm just going to add a new key, and this could be any key name you want. I'll just call this FHIR test key, add it here, and you will be given the ability to copy it. You could look at it. You could put it in a safe place. I'd recommend that. And then close this. We'll need the API key so that we can use our API development portal. Now this really helps new users get up quickly. I could paste in that key I just got so I could authorize the portal. And now I could start making requests on the portal. So let's just try a simple GET request. And we'll just get all the patients that are in the portal currently. Now it comes preloaded with about 25 patients or so. I'm going to just, in quote, try it out. And again, notice all the search parameters that are exposed so that you can understand it. I'm going to execute that, and you could see the request, what it would be in curl or HTTP, and you can see we got a bundle back of about 26 patients. So this is a great way to start learning how to do FHIR queries. But let's continue on and see some of the other things you could do. You could download, for example, the entire result set. Let's make another request using the same portal. I'm going to go back up to the top. And here I'm going to put in a string. I'm going to put in a date string. And unfortunately, I'm typing it in incorrectly here. Let's fix this. So you start with the year. And I'll correct this here. 2001. And I know there's a patient with a birthday of November 7th. So now that's the search parameter for birth date. Let's see if we could find that patient. I'm going to go back down here again, execute the query. And you see we have a 200 response. That's good. And we've gotten back a bundle with just one search result. Makes perfect sense. So this is an example where you can use any of the search parameters that are supported by FHIR. They're totally exposed for you. Now, taking that API key we had, I would recommend that you also set up an equivalent thing in Postman. In your environment variables, paste in your API key, your base URL, so you can essentially set up a set of FHIR requests that you could use again and again for testing and development. So here you see I've already set up for getting all patients. And here I'm going to access patients by city. And I'm going to access by birth date. Now notice one of the things that we had was the exact birth date. Our FHIR server also supports search modifiers. So by typing LE in front of this, I could get all patients that are born less than that date. And you could see we get back a bundle with considerably more patients. So we also could do more advanced queries than we could in the API portal. We could do contains queries. And here I'm showing you a reverse include query. That's also supported by our FHIR server, and you could easily make these queries. Again, I'm showing you how to do this with an API key. So again, our FHIR server supports the full FHIR standard. Now, you might want to build an application using the API key, and that's fairly simple to do. Here I have on GitHub a site that shows a trial application that you could download. It's open source, and all you need to do to use this application is to get your FHIR base URL, and you configure this in the environment variable like I've done here, and then just take your API key that you created and paste it in here. and you're ready to go. So you just basically get ng-serve, and notice we now have a working application where you can get patients and observations, and you can lay that out as a table. Very simple application, but I wanted to show you that it's very easy to build an Angular app with an API key and use lay this out as a table and get component information on things like blood pressure, etc. So that is one application we could build. Let's take a look at some other features. So one of the things I mentioned is we could get API metrics. So you could see the count of your request, the average latency, and the number of errors you're getting, the number of 401 and 403 errors. We could also take a look at data management. Data management allows you to import resources. Currently, we have 26 patients and 7,505 resources, but we can import additional bundles. So these pre-built bundles can help you get started very quickly. I'm going to select a bundle here, previous head injury. And if you want details, you could come over to the side and click the down arrow button, and you can get more information on that data set. So let's select that, and I'm going to select, I'm going to upload that to the server then so that I can process that request. But I'm not limited to that. Obviously, I could go ahead and select additional bundles. I think I'll do that. I'll select this chest pain shopper bundle. And you could again read this, and we could go ahead and upload that. So now we're just loading this without having to have to use Cynthia or any other kinds of tools. However, if you do use Cynthia, you could go and import all those patients. I've stored them in my local directory here. And I'm just going to go ahead and select them all. And I'm going to open them and upload them directly into the uploading portal. And you'll see it doesn't take very much time to upload these files. Once they're uploaded, they're ready to be processed, and we could hit the import button. And this can take several minutes depending on how many bundles you imported. But now you can see we have 145 patients, and we can take a look at our import logs to see if we have any problems with processing any of those imports. And you can see it took us 403 seconds to get all those bundles in. We have some failed bundles, and so we can go ahead and download that and get a better understanding of exactly why they failed to import. So I'm going to open this up. You'll see on this screen that most of our bundles processed just fine. And it told us how many resources, how long it took. Most of them imported very quickly. But we did run into some errors, and some of them were because we had duplicate bundle entries, and those were rejected. One of the trickier things to use with FHIR is OAuth 2. I have a two-part lecture and a presentation for Global Summit on this. We allow you to use a variety of providers, and I encourage you, if you're wanting to use OAuth 2, to look at that series. Here I have built an Okta server and an application that is working directly with this server. You can see that we have to supply some parameters, such as where the application runs, and we need to understand the client secret. Here's my GitHub repository that'll teach you everything about running this demo application and give you ways in which you could integrate your code in with a third-party authorization service. So once that's done, we can configure our client application. Again, we need to, in the environment, tell us where the OAuth 2 endpoint is. That's very critical. Notice we have no API key here, but we do have to configure the parameters for use with Okta. And here you could see some of the things we need to know: the client ID, the issuer, the redirects, etc. We don't have time to cover this in detail, but it's all in the documentation I have. Let me just show you how that demo runs. This is an OAuth 2 FHIR integration demo. I log on to the application, type in my login credentials, and sign into the Okta sign-in page. I can also register myself here too. And notice that I'm now getting the same patients I got back with the API key demo, except in this case, we're using a bearer token. So again, this is more complex. Here you're going to see this is the actual bearer token that was used. It was requested from the Okta authorization server. And here's the decoded token. You're seeing the audience, the client ID, etc. So JWT, it's a marvelous tool. I want to finish off by showing a few other features of the service. We do have good access logs. And here I'm going to use my other demo application that I built to just generate 100 requests to our FHIR service and take a look at those access logs and see how the service keeps up with all the requests I'm making. This just takes about a minute or so, and we should have all those queries run. It's just running as fast as we can, and you see all 100 requests have been completed now. So I'm going to go back, and I'm going to have to refresh the page several times. And this will give me a good idea of our last request. And you can see we're getting our request, the access logs updated. I think one more time and we should be in sync. And now you see we have our access, and our API key lets us know we did this. Here's our resources page. You can resize the server at any time. I'm not going to do so now because that obviously would cost money and would take a little bit of time, but it shows you your storage allocation. You could resize your disk at any time and expand it so that you can always use what you actually need. Creating backups is very, very simple. Here I'm going to create a backup. And again, it's in progress. Once it's complete, you will be able to see that. Under the Resource Center, there's a lot more information that I don't have time to explain. We also have a documentation section in the portal, and it gives the full InterSystems documentation for using the service. There's also an administrative tab. If you have more than one deployment, you could get the administrative details of all the deployments that you have control over. And here's some of those details for my specific deployment. So what's the road ahead? Well, there's a lot on our plate. We're going to be doing FHIR profiling. You should look forward to bulk FHIR, better FHIR GUI search tools, and cost reductions. Here's some resources that you might want to check out that go into depth. And I know you probably have a number of questions because these demos are so fast. Feel free to write me, Angelo, Anton, or Todd, and we'll be happy to answer all your questions. And thank you for your attention.